The more, my friend, there is a power inside you waiting to be unleashed, a force so potent it can shape your future, rewrite your story, and command the course of your destiny. That power is not found in your circumstance or the opinions of others. It lies within your ability to master yourself. Your emotions, as real and as raw as they are, do not define you. They are a part of you, yes, but they are not meant to lead you. They are meant to signal you, inform you, and remind you that you are alive, but they must never, ever control you. Too many of us are held hostage by how we feel. We allow anger to make decisions for us. We let fear keep us from stepping out on faith. We let sadness anchor us in places we were meant to leave. But you were not designed to live like that. You were not created to be a slave to your emotions. You are meant to rise above them, to understand them, to channel them into purpose and power. Think about it. How many relationships have been ruined by a moment of anger? How many dreams have been abandoned because fear whispered, you can't do it? How many opportunities have slipped away because sadness said, stay where you are? Your emotions are not the enemy, but when they go unchecked, they can become the chains that bind you. It is time to break free. Control does not mean denial. It does not mean you pretend you are not hurt when you are. It does not mean you suppress your joy when you feel it welling up inside. Control means understanding the role your emotions play and choosing how you respond to them. It means pausing before you speak, reflecting before you act, and ensuring that what you do is aligned with who you are and what you believe. Think of your emotions as fire. When controlled, fire can warm your home, cook your meals, and provide light in the darkness. But when left unchecked, fire can destroy everything in its path. So the question is, are you feeding the fire responsibly, or are you letting it rage out of control? When someone offends you, the easiest thing to do is react. Anger rises up, and before you know it, words fly out of your mouth that you could never take back. But what if instead of reacting, you paused? What if you took a moment to breathe, to think, to ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Is this worth my integrity? In that pause, you take back your power. In that pause, you remind yourself that you are in control. Fear, oh fear, how it loves to whisper lies into your ear. It tells you that you're not good enough, that you'll never make it, that the risk is too great. But let me tell you something, fear is a liar. Fear will paralyze you if you let it. But fear also has a purpose. It's there to alert you, to make you aware of the stakes, but it is not there to dictate your actions. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move forward in spite of it. And what about sadness, that heavy, sinking feeling that makes you want to withdraw from the world? Sadness has a way of making you feel like the darkness will never lift, like the weight will never ease. But sadness is not a permanent state. It is a season, and seasons change. With sadness comes, acknowledge it, but do not let it root itself in your soul. Speak to your sadness. Remind it that joy comes in the morning, that there is still hope, still purpose, still life to be lived. Your emotions are indicators, not dictators. They tell you where you are, but they do not determine where you are going. Imagine driving a car. Your emotions are the dashboard lights. They let you know when something needs attention, when something is off, when something requires action. But they are not the steering wheel, and they are certainly not the engine. You are the driver. You decide the direction. You control the speed. When you master your emotions, you gain clarity. You make decisions not based on how you feel in the moment, but based on what you know to be true. You build relationships on trust and understanding rather than on fleeting feelings. You pursue your dreams with persistence because you are no longer swayed by every wave of doubt or discouragement that comes your way. It takes practice, it takes intention, it takes a willingness to confront yourself and to be honest about what you feel and why you feel it. But when you get there, when you learn to control your emotions rather than letting them control you, you will find a freedom unlike anything you've ever known. You will find that you are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are no longer at the mercy of what happens to you. You are the captain of your soul, the master of your fate. Every great leader, every successful person, Every individual who has achieved something of significance has learned this lesson. They have learned that emotions are powerful, but they are not all powerful. They have learned to channel their anger into action, their fear into focus, their sadness into strength. They have learned to rise above the storm within and to find peace, clarity, and direction. So I ask you, what is holding you back? What emotion have you allowed to sit in the driver's seat of your life? Is it anger, fear, sadness, guilt, shame, or even pride? Whatever it is, it's time to take back the wheel. It's time to say, I am in control. It's time to live not by what you feel, but by what you know to be true. You have the power to change your life. You have the power to rise above. You have the power to control your emotions, to channel them into something beautiful, something meaningful, something lasting. So take a deep breath, stand tall, remind yourself you are stronger than your anger. You are braver than your fear. You are more resilient than your sadness. You are in control. Emotions are one of the most powerful forces in the human experience. They rise up within us, often unbidden, stirring us to act, to speak, to react. They make us feel alive, connected, and human. Yet despite their intensity and influence, emotions are not meant to dictate our lives. They are indicators, not dictators. They are signals meant to inform us, but they are not commands that must control us. The challenge lies in recognizing the distinction between acknowledging our emotions and allowing them to lead us. When we begin to view emotions as indicators, we see them for what they truly are: tools. A tool, when used properly, can build, shape, and create. But if misused, it can cause damage, confusion, and chaos. Emotions serve as tools that alert us to what is happening inside and around us. They tell us when we are hurt, when something feels unjust, when we are inspired, or when we are content. For example, anger may indicate that a boundary has been crossed. Sadness may signify that we have experienced a loss or unmet expectation. Joy reveals that we have encountered something fulfilling or beautiful. Each emotion has a purpose and a message, but it is up to us to interpret and respond to it wisely. The problem arises when we misinterpret these signals or give them more authority than they deserve. Imagine a car's dashboard. When a warning light comes on, it does not mean the car is destined to stop running. It simply signals that something needs attention. You do not abandon the car or let the warning dictate your journey. Instead, you investigate the issue, address it, and continue moving forward. Similarly, emotions are the dashboard lights of our lives. They highlight areas that need awareness, but they do not determine the direction of our journey unless we allow them to. Too often, people fall into the trap of letting their emotions dictate their choices. Anger flares up, and instead of pausing to understand its source, they lash out, damaging relationships and reputations. Fear whispers in their ear, and instead of confronting it, they retreat, missing opportunities for growth and success. Sadness weighs heavily, and instead of processing it, they sink into despair, believing that their circumstances are unchangeable. In these moments, the emotions have taken the role of dictators, steering the course of life in ways that often lead to regret. This is why it is critical to shift our perspective in relationship with emotions. Acknowledging emotions is not the same as surrendering to them. Feeling angry does not mean you must act in anger. Feeling fear does not mean you must avoid the challenge before you. Feeling sad does not mean you must dwell in sorrow indefinitely. To acknowledge an emotion is to say, I see you. I recognize you. I understand why you are here. It is not to say you are in control. The ability to view emotions as indicators requires self-awareness. Self-awareness is the foundation upon which emotional control is built. When you are self-aware, you can step back from the intensity of an emotion and observe it objectively. You can ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is this emotion trying to tell me? How should I respond? This level of introspection takes practice, but it is essential for breaking free from the cycle of being controlled by emotions. Emotions are deeply tied to our thoughts and beliefs. Often, the way we interpret a situation determines the emotions we feel. If someone speaks to you harshly, you might feel offended or hurt because you interpret their words as an attack on your character. But if you pause to consider that their behavior might stem from their own struggles or frustrations, your emotional response might shift to understanding or empathy. In this way, controlling your emotions often begins with controlling your thoughts. The ability to manage emotions does not mean suppressing them or pretending they do not exist. Suppression leads to unresolved tension, which can manifest in unhealthy ways later on. Instead, it means allowing yourself to feel while simultaneously choosing how to respond. It is about maintaining a balance between emotional honesty and emotional responsibility. You are honest with yourself about what you feel, but you are responsible for how you act on those feelings. Think about the role of emotions in relationships. Relations thrive when emotions are expressed thoughtfully and constructively, but when emotions are allowed to dictate every interaction, they can cause unnecessary harm. Imagine a moment of anger in a heated argument. If you let the anger control you, it might lead to words or actions that damage trust and intimacy. However, if you recognize the anger as a signal that something needs to be addressed, you can choose to communicate your feelings calmly and effectively, preserving the relationship while resolving the issue. Another important aspect of viewing emotions as indicators is recognizing their temporary nature. Emotions are like waves; they rise, crest, and eventually fall. No emotion, no matter how intense, lasts forever. This perspective can provide comfort during difficult times and caution during moments of elation. When you feel overwhelmed by sadness or fear, remind yourself that this feeling will pass. When you are overjoyed, remember to stay grounded and not make hasty decisions based solely on that fleeting high. Recognizing the impermanence of emotions helps you maintain stability and perspective. The power of emotions lies in their ability to guide us, not to control us. They are like a compass pointing us in the direction of what matters most. But we must remember that we are the ones holding the compass. We decide which path to take, how fast to move, and when to adjust our course. Emotions provide valuable information, but they are not the ultimate authority. This approach to emotions requires discipline and intentionality. It requires you to slow down in moments of intensity and to resist the urge to react impulsively. It demands that you take ownership of your emotional responses, recognizing that while you cannot always control what you feel, you can control what you do with those feelings. It calls for a commitment to personal growth and self-mastery, understanding that true strength is not in suppressing emotions, but in mastering them. And when you embrace emotions as indicators, you gain a powerful tool for navigating life. You learn to listen to what your emotions are telling you without being consumed by them. You learn to act with wisdom rather than react out of impulse. You learn to align your actions with your values, goals, and purpose rather than being swayed by the ebb and flow of feelings. In this way, you reclaim your power and step into a life of greater clarity, purpose, and freedom. Control over your responses is one of the most significant acts of self-mastery. In moments of high emotion, it is easy to feel like a passenger on a runaway train, carried away by impulses that seem impossible to stop. However, the power to pause, reflect, and choose your response lies entirely within you. It is not an ability reserved for the naturally composed or the inherently disciplined. It is a skill that can be developed and strengthened through intentional effort and consistent practice. The challenge is that emotions often demand immediate action. Anger pushes you to react sharply, fear urges you to retreat, and frustration compels you to vent. These reactions may feel natural and even justified in the moment, but they often lead to consequences that do not serve your long-term well-being. The key to breaking this cycle is learning to pause. The pause is small but mighty. It is the space between feeling and action, the moment where you reclaim control over your choices. Pausing does not mean ignoring or suppressing your emotions. It means giving yourself the opportunity to breathe, to process, and to decide. When someone says or does something that angers you, the instinctive response may be to lash out. But if you pause, even for a few seconds, you create a gap between the trigger and your reaction. In that gap, you can ask yourself questions: why am I feeling this way? What is the best way to address this situation? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values and goals? This moment of reflection allows you to choose your response rather than letting the emotion dictate it. Reflecting before you act is not always easy, especially in situations where emotions are running high. It requires patience and self-awareness. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Start by identifying your triggers, those situations, words, or actions that tend to provoke strong emotional reactions in you. When you know your triggers, you can prepare yourself to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. For example, if you know that criticism makes you defensive, you can practice pausing and reminding yourself that feedback is an opportunity for growth rather than an attack. Another important aspect of reflection is recognizing the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is immediate, emotional, and often driven by impulse. Responding, on the other hand, is deliberate, thoughtful, and aligned with your principles. Reacting might feel satisfying in the moment, but it often leads to regret. Responding, though it takes more effort, results in actions and outcomes you can be proud of. It is the difference between shouting back in anger and calmly expressing your feelings, between storming out of a difficult situation and staying to address it constructively. Aligning your actions with your values and purpose is the ultimate goal of controlling your responses. When you act in a way that reflects who you are and what you believe, you maintain your integrity and build trust with others. This alignment requires clarity about your values. What matters most to you? What kind of person do you want to be? What do you want to stand for? When you are clear about these things, they become a guide for your responses, helping you navigate even the most challenging emotional situations. One of the most powerful examples of controlling your response is in the face of conflict. Conflict is a natural part of life, but it can quickly escalate when emotions take over. The ability to pause, reflect, and choose your response can transform conflict into an opportunity for understanding and resolution. Instead of reacting defensively or aggressively, you can approach the situation with empathy and a willingness to listen. You can express your perspective without attacking the other person. You can focus on finding a solution rather than winning an argument. In doing so, you not only resolve the conflict, but also strengthen the relationship. Fear is another emotion that often demands immediate action, usually in the form of avoidance or retreat. Fear has a way of magnifying risks and minimizing possibilities, convincing you that staying in your comfort zone is the safest option. But if you pause and reflect when fear arises, you can challenge this narrative. You can ask yourself, is this fear protecting me or holding me back? What is the worst that could happen, and how would I handle it? What might I gain if I face this fear? By questioning fear rather than succumbing to it, you can choose to act with courage and confidence, even in the face of uncertainty. Sadness, too, calls for thoughtful responses. When sadness sets in, the temptation might be to withdraw, to isolate yourself, or to dwell on the negatives. But pausing and reflecting can help you process your feelings in a healthier way. You might ask yourself, what is causing this sadness? Is there something I can do to address it? Who can I turn to for support in doing so? You take an active role in your emotional well-being rather than letting sadness overwhelm you. The ability to control your responses is not about perfection. There will be times when you react impulsively or let your emotions get the better of you. What matters is not that you never falter, but that you learn from these moments and commit to doing better. Each time you pause, reflect, and choose your response, you strengthen your ability to do so again in the future. Over time, this practice becomes a habit, and that habit becomes a part of who you are. It is also important to recognize that controlling your responses does not mean suppressing your emotions or pretending they do not exist. It means acknowledging your emotions, understanding their message, and choosing how to act on them in a way that serves your highest good. It is about balancing emotional honesty with emotional responsibility, about being true to what you feel while remaining true to who you are. The ability to control your responses is one of the most empowering skills you can develop. It allows you to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. It helps you build stronger relationships, pursue your goals with determination, and maintain your peace in the face of adversity. It is a skill that requires effort and practice, but it is a skill that anyone can develop. And when you do, you will find that you are no longer at the mercy of your emotions, but in control of your destiny. Emotions, when channeled purposefully, are among the most powerful resources available to you. They are the fuel that drives human achievement, the force that motivates action, and the energy that brings about transformation. Anger, fear, and sadness are often perceived as negative emotions, but in truth, they are neither good nor bad. They simply exist, and their impact depends entirely on how you choose to use them. These emotions can either consume you or propel you forward. The difference lies in your ability to channel them into something meaningful and constructive. Anger, for instance, is one of the most misunderstood emotions. It often arises when you perceive an injustice, a betrayal, or a violation of boundaries. Left unchecked, anger can lead to destructive behaviors, harming relationships and tarnishing your reputation. But when harnessed correctly, anger can become a powerful catalyst for change. Some of the greatest movements in history were fueled by a collective sense of righteous anger against injustice. This anger was not chaotic or reckless. It was channeled into strategic action, clear goals, and focused determination. On a personal level, your anger can serve as a wake-up call, urging you to address unresolved issues or to take a stand for what matters to you. When you learn to control it, anger becomes a force that propels you to act with purpose rather than to react impulsively. Fear, too, is often seen as an obstacle, but it is, in reality, a guide. Fear alerts you to potential danger or risk, pushing you to pay attention and proceed with caution. While unchecked fear can paralyze you, intentional fear can sharpen your focus. Consider how athletes prepare for a competition or how a public speaker gets ready for a high-stakes presentation. The fear they feel is not ignored. It is transformed into heightened awareness, preparation, and a drive to perform at their best. When you face fear, it presents you with a choice: retreat or rise. If you choose to rise, fear can become the very thing that strengthens your courage, deepens your resilience, and sharpens your determination to succeed. Sadness, though heavy and often unwelcome, is another emotion that can be channeled into growth and purpose. Sadness comes from a place of loss, disappointment, or unmet expectations. It signals that something meaningful has been affected, and in its own way, it calls you to reflect on what truly matters. When sadness is acknowledged and understood, it can lead to profound healing and creativity. Some of the world's most beautiful art, music, and literature were born out of sadness. This emotion, when embraced rather than suppressed, can help you process your experiences, find clarity, and inspire others with the depth of your humanity. Sadness reminds you that you care deeply, and it can guide you toward actions that bring about renewal and hope. Channeling emotions into purpose requires a willingness to confront them head-on. Avoidance only magnifies their power over you, while acknowledgement puts you back in the driver's seat. Start by naming the emotion you feel. Instead of saying, "I'm upset," be specific. "I feel angry because I was disrespected," or "I feel sad because I lost something important to me." Naming the emotion gives you clarity, and clarity is the first step toward control. Once you identify the emotion, ask yourself what it is trying to tell you. Anger may be pointing to an unresolved conflict. Fear may be highlighting an area where you need more preparation. Sadness may be urging you to let go and move forward. By listening to your emotions, you can uncover their purpose and decide how to channel them effectively. Next, determine what action aligns with the message your emotion is sending. If anger is telling you that something needs to change, consider how you can address the issue constructively. If fear is warning you about a challenge, use it as motivation to prepare thoroughly and step forward with confidence. If sadness is calling you to heal, take time to reflect, connect with loved ones, or engage in activities that bring you peace and restoration. The key is to act intentionally rather than react impulsively. One of the most effective ways to channel emotions is through creativity. Creativity allows you to transform raw, unfiltered emotions into something beautiful, meaningful, and impactful. Artists, writers, musicians, and innovators often draw from their deepest emotions to create works that inspire, provoke thought, and connect with others. You do not need to be an artist to channel your emotions creatively. You can write in a journal, brainstorm solutions to a problem, or simply engage in activities that bring out your imagination and ingenuity. Creativity not only helps you process your emotions, but also turns them into a source of inspiration and empowerment. Another powerful way to channel emotions is through service. When you use your emotions to connect with others and make a positive impact, you find purpose in your pain. Anger about injustice can drive you to advocate for change. Fear of failure can push you to mentor others and help them overcome their own challenges. Sadness over loss can lead you to offer compassion and support to those who are grieving. Service shifts the focus from yourself to others, transforming emotions that might otherwise weigh you down into a force for good. Channeling emotions also requires discipline. It is easy to let emotions dictate your actions in the heat of the moment, but discipline helps you pause, reflect, and choose wisely. Discipline is not about suppressing your emotions. It is about creating habits and routines that allow you to process and use them effectively. Regular practices such as mindfulness, exercise, or prayer can help you stay grounded and centered, giving you the strength to channel your emotions in healthy and productive ways. Emotions are also deeply tied to your sense of identity and purpose. When you understand who you are and what you stand for, it becomes easier to channel your emotions into actions that align with your values. Your emotions, especially the intense ones, often arise when something important to you is at stake. By connecting with your purpose, you can ensure that your emotional energy is directed toward meaningful goals rather than wasted on fleeting impulses. Finally, remember that channeling emotions is not a one-time effort, but an ongoing practice. Emotions are a natural and continuous part of life, and learning to channel them requires patience and persistence. Some days will be easier than others, but with each effort, you strengthen your ability to turn emotions into purpose and power. Over time, you will find that even the most challenging emotions become opportunities for growth, learning, and transformation. Mastering your emotions is one of the most empowering steps you can take to reclaim control over your life. Emotions are a natural part of the human experience, but when left unchecked, they can steer your decisions, your relationships, and your future in directions you might not have intended. The ability to master your emotions means owning them rather than letting them own you. It is the difference between reacting impulsively and responding with wisdom, between being overwhelmed by circumstances and rising above them, and between feeling out of control and standing firmly in your power. Taking charge of your emotions starts with awareness. You cannot master what you do not understand. Pay attention to the feelings that arise within you: anger, fear, sadness, joy, or frustration. What triggers them? How do they manifest in your body and mind? When you start noticing patterns, you gain insight into how your emotions influence your thoughts and actions. This awareness creates a foundation for mastery because it shifts you from a reactive state to a proactive one. Instead of being blindsided by emotions, you can anticipate and prepare for them, reducing their power over you. Another key to emotional mastery is the realization that you are not your emotions. While emotions are a part of your experience, they do not define you. Feeling anger does not make you an angry person. Feeling fear does not make you weak. Feeling sadness does not make you broken. Emotions are fleeting. They come and go like waves on the shore. They are not permanent, and they do not have to dictate your identity. When you separate yourself from your emotions, you create space to observe them objectively and make conscious choices about how to respond. This separation also helps you to avoid making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. How many times have people said or done things in the heat of the moment that they later regretted? Words spoken in anger, decisions made in fear, or actions driven by sadness often lead to unintended consequences. Mastering your emotions means recognizing when you are in an emotionally charged state and refraining from making important decisions until you have clarity. It is about learning to step back, breathe, and give yourself time to think. Even a few moments of pause can prevent long-lasting regret. Emotional mastery is also about perspective. Emotions, especially intense ones, can narrow your focus, making it hard to see the bigger picture. When you are angry, you might fixate on what someone said or did, losing sight of the relationship you value. When you are fearful, you might focus on the worst-case scenario, ignoring the possibilities for success. Mastering your emotions means expanding your view. Ask yourself, will this matter a week from now? A month? A year? Shifting your perspective can help you see beyond the immediate feeling and make choices that align with your long-term goals. Another essential aspect of emotional mastery is accountability. It is tempting to blame others or external circumstances for how you feel, but the truth is, your emotions are your responsibility. No one else has the power to make you feel a certain way. They can trigger emotions, but how you process and respond to them is up to you. When you take ownership of your emotions, you reclaim your power. Instead of saying they made me angry, you can say, I felt angry because of their actions, and I chose to respond in this way. This shift in language reinforces the fact that you are in control. Mastering your emotions also involves learning how to express them in healthy ways. Suppressing emotions is not mastery, it is avoidance. When you bottle up your feelings, they often resurface later, sometimes in destructive ways. Emotional mastery means finding constructive outlets for what you feel. This could be through communication, where you express your emotions honestly and respectfully, or through activities like journaling, exercise, or creative pursuits. The goal is not to deny your emotions, but to channel them in ways that serve you rather than hinder you. Resilience is a cornerstone of emotional mastery. Life will inevitably bring challenges, disappointments, and setbacks, but how you handle them defines your strength. Resilience is not about avoiding difficult emotions, it is about navigating them with grace and resolve. When faced with adversity, allow yourself to feel the pain, the fear, or the frustration, but do not let those emotions keep you stuck. Use them as fuel to push forward, to learn, and to grow. Resilience is built through experience, and every time you overcome an emotional challenge, you become stronger and more capable. Self-compassion is another crucial element. Mastering your emotions does not mean you will never have emotional outbursts or moments of weakness. You are human, and perfection is not the goal. When you fall short, be kind to yourself. Recognize that emotional mastery is a journey, not a destination. Each day presents a new opportunity to practice, to learn, and to improve. Treat yourself with the same understanding and forgiveness that you would offer to a friend. The ability to master your emotions also empowers you to influence the emotions of others. Emotional energy is contagious. When you are calm, confident, and composed, you set the tone for those around you. Conversely, when you are anxious, reactive, or overwhelmed, that energy spreads as well. Mastering your emotions allows you to be a stabilizing presence, whether in your family, your workplace, or your community. People will look to you as a source of strength and guidance, and you will be able to lead with clarity and compassion. Finally, mastering your emotions unlocks your potential. When you are no longer at the mercy of fear, anger, or doubt, you are free to pursue your goals with confidence and determination. Emotional mastery gives you the focus to stay on course, the resilience to overcome obstacles, and the courage to take risks. It enables you to build deeper relationships, make wiser decisions, and live with greater purpose. Your emotions become tools that work for you rather than forces that work against you. This level of mastery is not achieved overnight. It is a practice that requires patience, commitment, and self-awareness. There will be moments when emotions feel overwhelming, and that is okay. What matters is your willingness to keep trying, to keep learning, and to keep growing. With time and effort, you will find that you are no longer ruled by your emotions, but instead guided by them in a way that aligns with your highest self.